Alaikum. Jummah Mubarak. We'll begin. Praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him and we ask Him for guidance and forgiveness. We seek protection in Allah from the malice of our own souls and the evil of our actions. Whom Allah guides, no one can lead them astray, and whom Allah makes astray, no one can lead them back to the right path. I bear witness that there is no deity but Allah alone, with no partners, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the servant and messenger of Allah. You who believe, be mindful of God, as is His due, and make sure you devote yourselves to Him to your dying moment. Believers, be mindful of God, speak in a direct fashion and to good purpose, and He will put your deeds right for you and forgive you your sins. Whoever obeys God and His messenger will truly achieve a great triumph. Again, assalamu alaikum, my dear sisters and brothers. Alhamdulillah, we are here in a new year, and we're able to come together again on this blessed Jummah. I pray that you are all here in good health, which was granted by Allah. And so today, again, I want to continue with the story of Musa. And for this section, I want to go through some of the verses from Surah Taha. But not because I want to focus on these specific verses necessarily, but rather I want to expand a bit on the overarching message of the surah itself. And remember that in this surah is where we also learn of the confrontation of Musa and the Pharaoh's sorcerers and the long plight of the Israelites as they fled Egypt. And so last time we discussed the revelation of God's commandments and what happened when Musa returned to his people and saw them singing and dancing around the golden calf. And that, obviously the scene enraged him. Musa could not believe his eyes, even though God had just warned them that a severe punishment was about to befall his people for worshiping the golden calf. And Musa's heart was filled with just an immense amount of shame and anger. His own people had witnessed the power and majesty of God, yet they acted belligerently without fear of God's punishment. And Allah tells us of this incident in Surah Taha. Now, this is in verses 83 and 80 through 86. God said, Musa, what has made you come ahead of your people in such haste? And he said, they are following in my footsteps. I rushed to you, Lord, to please you. But God said, we have tested your people in your absence. The summary has led them astray. Musa returned to his people angry and aggrieved. He said, my people, did your Lord not make you a gracious promise? Was my absence too long for you? Did you want anger to fall on you from your Lord? And so you broke your word to me? And the verse continues with the children of Israel explaining what happened. They said, we did not break our word to you deliberately. We were burdened with the weight of people's jewelry, so we threw it in the fire. And the summary did the same. He said, he used the molten lava, the molten jewelry, to produce an image of a calf, which made a lowing sound. And they said, this is your God and Moses' God, but he has forgotten. Did they not see the calf gave no answer, that it had no power to harm or benefit? Again, that's from Surah Taha, verses 87 through 89. So Khalid Abu al-Fadl explains in his tafsir that before leaving Egypt, the children of Israel borrowed a gold jewelry and they had no intention of returning it. So it was as though they were carrying their sins and the weight of it that they felt that was burdening them. And this is why they had no problem throwing it in the fire. And he also goes on to explain that when the summary, the person who has convinced them to put their gold in the fire, he fashioned this golden calf and he created it in a way that when the wind blew through it, it made a noise. And although the idol made a noise, it was not able to give them answers and it had no power to harm or benefit them, just as Allah points out in these verses. And so the verses continue with Aaron's interjection. So Aaron did say to them, my people, this calf is a test for you. Your true Lord is the Lord of mercy. So follow me and obey my orders. But they replied, we shall not give up our devotion to it until Moses returns to us. So again, Musa leaves Aaron in charge as he goes to meet God, and there he's given the commandments. And so Musa comes down and he turned to his brother, and obviously very angry, and he grabbed him by the beard at the same time, and he pulled Aaron towards him by the head. And he bellowed at his brother, demanding that Aaron explain why he disobeyed the instructions he had given him and why he had allowed the summary to beguile the children of Israel. Aaron explained that the people did not listen to him, and they were about to kill him. He appealed to Musa not to let the idolaters separate them. Aaron was not as strong and as forceful as his brother, and he feared that he would not be able to control the children of Israel, so he waited for his brother Musa to return. And the story goes on to tell of this back and forth between Musa and his brother Harun. So Moses says, "When you realized they had gone astray, what prevented you, Aaron, from coming to me? How could you disobey my orders?" He said, "Son of my mother, let go of my beard and my hair. I was afraid you would say, 'You have caused division among the children of Israel and have not heeded what I said.'" And so Ibn Kathir, in his tafsir, he recounts this episode as such. He said, "When Musa returned to his people and saw the great matter that had taken place among them, with this he became filled with anger, and he threw down the divine tablets that he had in his hand. Then he grabbed his brother Harun by the head and pulled him toward himself, and began to blame his brother Harun by saying, what prevented you when you saw them going astray? That you didn't follow me. You didn't come and tell me. You didn't come and inform me of what has happened." And Harun said, "O son of my mother." And this mentioning of the mother was Harun's attempt to soften Musa's anger, because he was Musa's biological brother and they had the same parents. So the mentioning of the mother here is a more delicate and profound in bringing about gentleness and mildness. This is why he said, "O son of my mother, seize me not by my beard or my head." And so Harun's excuse to Musa for being delayed in coming to him and informing him of the mishap that took place was that he was afraid to come after Musa because he thought Musa might accuse him of leaving them alone and causing division between them. Harun was so concerned with creating a division or fueling a civil war. And then Musa turns to a summary and basically banishes him, sends him into exile. And so obviously we can easily understand Musa's frustration in all of this. Here's a prophet who was sent on a mission from his Lord, who confronted Pharaoh and defeated him, who led his people out of Egypt towards the promised land. And these people, they had God on their side, but they couldn't be left to their own devices without falling into a situation of forsaking God, because they apparently needed something very tangible to worship. So by God relaying this story, right, to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and his followers, right, when he revealed this in the Quran, God is sending a deeper message to them. And it is for us to understand that message and apply it to our own lives. And so I want to zoom out just a bit and take a look at the revelatory importance of Surah Taha. And so Surah Taha begins with the enunciation of the object of the revelation of the Quran to this effect. Quote, "O Muhammad, this Quran has not been sent down to you to put you unnecessarily to some great affliction. It does not demand from you to perform the impossible task of imbuing the hearts of the disbelievers in faith. Right? It is merely a warning meant to guide to the right path those who are mindful of God and who want to save themselves from God's punishment. This Quran is the word of the master of earth and the heavens, and sovereignty belongs to God alone. These two facts are eternal, whether a person believes them or not." Okay, so then after this introduction in the surah, it moves on to relate the story of Prophet Moses and his mission to free the children of Israel from the Pharaoh. However, if we read between the lines, we realize that the discourse is addressed very relevantly to the people of Mecca. So one point is that Allah does not appoint a prophet by the beat of drums or by celebrating the occasion in a regular or formal ceremony, as if to say, we are appointing such and such a person as prophet from today. On the contrary, God bestows prophethood in a confidential manner, just as he did in the case of Prophet Moses. And so, therefore, it should not be considered strange that Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, had been appointed as a prophet all of a sudden, without God sending down any public proclamation. And so, this was kind of the first point in, if we were to sort of read in between the revelation, the reason of revelation in Surah Taha. And so the second point is the fundamental principles presented by Prophet Muhammad is Tawheed and the hereafter. And these are the same messages, the same principles that were taught to Prophet Musa at the time of his appointment. The third point being that Prophet Muhammad has been made a standard bearer of the message of truth among the people of the Quraysh all by himself without any material provisions, right? Just as Prophet Musa was entrusted with the mission to go to a tyrant king like Pharaoh and ask him to give up his attitude of rebellion. These are the mysterious ways of Allah. He appoints a wayfarer of Midian on his way to Egypt and says, go and fight with the greatest tyrant of that time. And he did not provide him with armies or provisions for this mission. The only thing he did was appoint his brother as his assistant at his Musa's request. So similarly, Prophet Muhammad was not given an army or massive wealth to spread the message and to change the Quraysh. And so the fourth point that is mentioned, by the way, these are from Quran.com. So I'm just sharing with you what Quran.com has in the about section of Surah Taha. So the fourth point is addressing the people of Mecca. They should note that just as the Pharaoh employed devices against Prophet Moses, Allah is pointing out, you're doing the same thing against the Prophet Muhammad. And again, you're attacking a person that, size to size does not compare. And so again, this is reminding so it's a reminder to not only the believers of Prophet Muhammad, but also the non-believers. And then lastly, the incident from the story of the Israelites has been cited to show in what ridiculous manner the idolization of false gods and goddesses starts, and that the prophets of God do not tolerate even the slightest tinge of this practice. So just as Musa was enraged when the children of Israel crafted this golden calf, the Prophet Muhammad and all of the prophets are going to be firm in their opposition of shirk and idol worshiping. So again, those are sort of the kind of the 5 points made to explain sort of the reason of revelation, of explaining, sharing the story of Musa to the followers of Muhammad. And it's the story of Moses is used to shine a light on all of those matters which connected with the conflict between the prophet and the Quraysh. And then at the end of the story, the Quraysh are briefly admonished as if to say, the Quran was sent down in your tongue for your good. If you listen to it and follow its warning, you will be doing so for your own good. But if you reject it, you will yourselves meet with an evil end. So this is towards the end of Surah Al-Taha. And then it closes out with the story of Adam. So in the end, the Prophet Muhammad and the Muslims have been advised not to be impatient in regard to the punishment of the disbelievers, as if to say, Allah has his own scheme concerning them. He does not seize them at once, but gives them sufficient respite. Therefore, you should not grow impatient, but bear with the persecutions with fortitude and go on conveying the message, right? Allah is encouraging them, like, don't be impatient, just stay on the path. And the message for us is very similar, right? We have been given a book of guidance that we can refer to in times of ease, but especially in times of hardship. And when we employ the tools of patience and steadfastness and devotion of faith, we can overcome life's challenges and struggles. And Allah lays out what those various deterrences are in the Quran, in the surah, but we're talking about propaganda and oppression and the distractions of worldly devices, which we sort of talked about last time. And so, here we are, it's January 3rd, we're in the first few days of a new Gregorian year. For those of us living in the West, this is generally a moment where we take some time to reflect on, the previous year and maybe what we hope for the next year. And, obviously the last 15 months or so have brought our ummah a great deal of stress. We are bearing witness to an array of domestic and global oppressions in a way that no other generation has. And I don't mean to say that no other generation has faced this level of oppression. What I mean is that no other generation has been able to bear witness to all of it at once, right? Uh, just think about the way we're able to see what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Syria, what's going on in, you know, along our border, what's going on here in this country. What other generation would have been able to see all of that at one time? Um, and these threats cannot, they can't be taken lightly. And I don't mean the threat of just death and destruction. I mean the toll it can take and has taken on our own faith and our trust in Allah's plan. I fully acknowledge that um, life is very overbearing right now. And it has absolutely led a number of people to a point of despair. Despair and not having the power to change or stop the pharaohs of our time, despair in the feeling of complicity in this oppression that we see every day. I'm not one personally. I'm not one to set resolutions, but it's generally out of laziness or fear of not succeeding. But this year, I want to share my goal for 2025 and beyond, and I hope that you will join me in doing so as well. And I'll preface this resolution with reminding myself first and foremost that there is no point in stressing over the things that we have no control over, and that Allah does not allow hardships and struggles for the sake of imposing hardships and struggles. Like, it's not frivolous. Everything that we experience is done so for a purpose and a reason. And our job isn't to try and figure out why God bestows blessings and burdens, but rather our job is to learn from them and how we can improve ourselves by them. And I sort of kind of came to this resolution after the recent US election. It hit me that the only way to change the world is to start as small as possible. And by focusing on what is going on in, say, Palestine or Sudan or Haiti, was I ignoring what was going on in my own community or my own family or even myself? Do we really think that we can change the oppressor if we don't address and change the oppressor in ourselves? Have we reached, has any of us reached that pinnacle of righteousness and piety? For me, no, not at all. And I'm not saying that we should just ignore what is going on in the world, but rather we should first strive. We should try to change what is in our immediate reach, and we should recognize the ability to ignite a ripple effect, right? That will go further than our own reach. That is the purpose. That is kind of the goal of a ripple effect. Can you start something small and so that it spreads out further than you could physically reach, but it has those effects and it just keeps growing? You know, just as evil can spread like a wildfire, there's no reason to believe that goodness can't do the same. And so my resolution for today and all of the tomorrows is to do what I can with the blessings that Allah has bestowed on me. And, try not to get weighed down or lament on what I am incapable of doing or what is beyond my power. And I want to remind myself every day that while there are injustices all over the world, there are also injustices in my own neighborhood and possibly, but hopefully not, in my own home. Can you imagine what we can accomplish if we all adopt that mentality? And vow to strive to fix what is nearest to us, or even better, ourselves. And so I want to leave us today to ponder upon that. Allah reminds us in the Quran that we have a duty to the community, but we will be judged for our own actions and deeds. Just as Prophet Harun, salam, was criticized, by Prophet Musa for allowing the children of Israel to worship the calf, and his concern about creating division. At the end of the day, he's going to be judged for his deeds. As angry as Musa was, that's not going to change the punishment or the blessings or the rewards that Musa is going to receive, because Musa at the end was only responsible for himself. And so we must also take that with us, that we can get bogged down with what others are doing. But if that means that we then don't think about what we're doing, then we're going to end up paying for it, you know? And so I want to close us with that and just a few du'as. And Allah, please accept our good deeds and our good intentions and forgive our shortcomings and our missteps and allow us to experience many more blessings and moments together. Allah, grant us the good things in this world and the good things in the next life and save us from the punishment of the hellfire. Allah, aid us in accepting the tests and tribulations of this life and give us the strength to overcome any challenges we may face. Allah, rid us of our fear, our anxiety, our despair, our sorrow, and replace in us a sense of serenity and tranquility and hope. O Allah, we ask you to place peace and solace in the hearts of those suffering any injustices. O Allah, instill in us the ability to uphold and maintain virtues pleasing to you. O Allah, we hope for your mercy. Do not leave us to ourselves, even for the blinking of an eye. Correct each of our affairs for us. There is none worthy of worship but you. And if I have said anything of truth, it is from Allah alone, and my gratitude goes to Allah. And if I have said anything that was not truthful, then that is from my own ego, and I ask for forgiveness from that transgression. Ameen. Um, Again, Jummah Mubarak, everybody. This is a recording. I recorded it this morning. It's because I've got a very busy day and I wanted to get this out there. Alhamdulillah, my niece is getting engaged today. But I did want to mention just a couple of upcoming events. This Sunday will not be the Surah Halakha. Inshallah, that'll be next Sunday, the 12th at 11 a.m. here on Zoom. For those of you in the Austin area, please consider signing up for our upcoming service day. That's on January 11th. It's a Saturday. It's going to be at the Central Texas Food Bank from 9 a.m. to 12. We are looking for 10 volunteers to help run a shift where you'll be boxing up non-perishable or foods that will be distributed to those in need. So all the details will be found on the website. But with that, I hope you're all doing well and having a great start to your new year. Note, next Friday, inshallah, the goal is to merge our in-person and our virtual Jummah, but more details will be sent out inshallah in our Wednesday newsletter. So with that, I bid you adieu, and I wish you all a great weekend filled with health and enjoyment. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.